I think this is a good year for us to institute Pesach Sheni. Don't do it first month. By the time second month, more people will have had their vaccines, and maybe we'll actually get together with people. I suggested it last year, but nobody wanted to play with me.
Yeah, and at the end, hindsight says that it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, well.
So I was saying that because there's a lot of other things starting to come up, and that the Tehillim class takes me hours and hours to prepare. We're doing the class this week. No, I love it. I actually absolutely love it. But we're gonna do the Tehillim class this week. We're gonna do it next week. But after that, I'm going to be overloaded with the campaign to get Shmura Matzot every door. So in 2 weeks, meaning, so this week and next week, we're going to do chapter 31 this week, chapter 32 next week, and then I'm going to take a break until after Pesach, and then we'll resume when I have hopefully some more time to focus on it. The JLI will be finished that week also, so that way I'll be able to focus also then. And then, but the other classes like the Talmud class and the Sikha classes and the Pirkei Avos, they don't take nearly as much time to prepare. So I'm going to continue those.
What was the second one that you said? What are they?
I said Sikha classes.
It sounded like Yechid.
Sikha. So
yes, what is
twice
that
a week, Monday morning and Thursday early afternoon. We go through a talk by the Rebbe, translated into English, usually connected to the parsha. So that's, but that's, I mean, I read it through to prepare it before, but I do that Shabbos afternoon. And then we learn it together, reading it in the English. So it's not, I don't do that much preparation for it. So it's a little easier for me to handle. Okay, I'm gonna spotlight.
You just like those people better.
Other people would say I like the subject matter better. That's what some.
No. I take this very personally. But
don't
actually,
worry,
it's
I'll
very
be back.
nice. This way we get.
I believe very strongly that when you start something new, something good, you have to continue. So I have to take a break only so that we could continue stronger and better. I'm not chas v'shalom. Not chas v'shalom stopping this Tehillim class. The truth is, it's fascinating to me, this Tehillim class, because I Tehillim is something I say Tehillim, whether it's every day or once a month. Shabbos Mevarchim, which is the Shabbos that we bless the new month, right? Every month. I get up in the morning if I have time. If I'm during COVID, when we didn't have a minyan, I used to get up early in the morning. I used to say the whole Tehillim before davening. That's the Chabad custom. Now that I have to prepare now that it takes me, don't worry, it doesn't take me that long. I could read the whole Tehillim in an hour, 35 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes. I've been saying it that long. But now that I have to get up and have to prepare a speech and I have to prepare the Kriya, etc., like I have other things that I do early in the morning, Shabbos morning. So I usually only end up saying it Shabbos afternoon. But so Tehillim is something that it's like a real big part of my life. I say it quite a few times a year. And I never, it's funny, I mentioned it to my father, that I'm giving a class in Tehillim. So he says, oh, very nice. I said, I don't remember exactly how I said it to him, but I think I told him something to the effect, like, sometimes fascinating to understand a whole chapter of Tehillim and to put it into context and to understand it. And my father looks at me and says, 1 second, each pasuk you could understand for itself. You could understand the whole chapter together. So that's the way I looked at it. What?
He should join our class.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes when I have something very geschmack in the chapter of Tehillim, I'll tell my father, whatever, because he says Tehillim, like me. So he knows the Tehillim, like, and a lot of these chapters also we say a lot through davening, right? So it's a lot of these kapitlach, in different ways. So it's just so I'll call him up and say, this thing or that thing. He enjoys that, but I don't know if he's going to join the class. Yeah, he's got enough on his plate. What?
I think he would. I think there's a lot of nachas you can get from learning from your children.
So call him up and tell him.
Okay. Don't dare me.
It's not a
Listen, I
dare.
knew him. I knew him before he knew you.
Okay.
I even interviewed him. I would say probably in 1983, 84. When were you born?
83.
83. Okay, so maybe around the same time.
Yeah, my father moved
I
here.
interviewed.
My father moved there in 1980. Tafshin Mem. He moved there in 1980. Actually, exactly 41 years ago. It was Purim. Purim. It came right before Purim in 1980. And my sister Khani, my older sister, the oldest, she was born a few months later. She was born in Sivan, in June. Yeah, she was born in June. And then I was born a little less than 2 years later. I was born 2 years after no, 3 years. 1 second. No, Khani. No, my father moved there in 1981. He got married in 1980. Right. He moved there in 1981. Yeah, because Khani was born in 1981. I was born in 1982. Yeah. So in 1981, they moved here, Purim. So it's exactly 40 years. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Yeah.
Tagar. I was representing, Galila was supposed to interview him for Tagar, and for some reason she couldn't make it, and so I interviewed him for the television show.
Oh wow! I'm gonna
yeah.
ask him if he remembers it.
Oh, I'm sure the highlight of his life,
his career.
That's it.
But okay, we have. I'm gonna mute everybody. We have a long kapitel to go through. It's long. It's 25 verses. We're used to chapters with 10 verses. 25 verses is it's more. It's about double of an average chapter that we've done until now. Though it's one very very straightforward theme throughout. So and we'll see. Let's see where it goes. And there isn't. If you open up any Tehillim with commentary, even like a Makrais Gedalos, like the commentary from the Rishonim, very little. Not very little. There is, but mostly just explaining words and concepts. So there isn't that much in the form of commentary here, but there's a lot to talk about, and it's not a short chapter, so we have what to talk about. So chapter 31, Kapitel Lamed Aleph. The headline of the kapitel of the chapter, it says, composed by a destitute and oppressed David, fleeing from Saul, while placing his trust in Hashem. The psalm instructs man to put his trust in Hashem alone. So Lam Natseyach Mizmer LeDavid, for the conductor, a psalm by David. B'cha Hashem chasisi, in you Hashem, I put my trust. I shelter. I put my trust. Ali Vaisha, I'll never be ashamed. La'olam, forever. Bitzit kascha, in your righteousness, Palteni, you will rescue me. Hate Elai Oznacha, turn your ear towards me. Mehira, quickly. Hatzileni, save me. Hey Eli, be for me. Litzur Ma'is, a rock of refuge. And lebeis mitzudais, a fortress, a house of fortress, lahishieni, to save me, to deliver me. Pasuk Daled, ki sali u'mitzudasiyata, because you are my rock, you are my fortress. Uleman shimcha, and for the sake of your name, tancheni u'sena'aleni, direct me and lead me. Taitzieni, take me out, remove me. Meideshes zu, from this net. Tamnuli, that they have hidden for me or planted for me, they've put down for me this net. Ki atam ma'uzi, because you are my stronghold, from the word oiz, strength. You are my strength. Biyadcha afkid ruchi, in your hand I entrust my spirit, my ruach, my spirit. Padisa oisi, you have, or you will. Padisa is really in the past. I see that the translation is really translated as the future, but Padisa, literal translation, is in the past. Padisa, you have redeemed me. Hashem, my God. Kel Emes, the God of Emes, the God of truth. Sanesi, I despise Hashemrim. So Shemrim also is a debate of what it means. A Shemer means someone that watches, but there is also another translation of Shemrim. So Hashemrim Havle Shav, it is someone who anticipates, who looks out for, anticipates. Shav, nothingness. We'll get back to that. Vani al Hashem batachti, but I don't look at that nothingness, at that worthlessness. I put my trust in Hashem. Agila, I will rejoice. Be'esmecha, and I will be happy. Bechazdecha, in your kindness. Asher isa sani, for you have seen my affliction. Yodata b'tzaras nafshi, you have known the troubles of my soul. And v'lo yiskartani biyad oyev, and you didn't trap me or close me or deliver me in the hands of the enemy. Ha'emadata, you have stood me up, b'merchav, in the spacious, ragla, you have stood me up on my feet in the spacious. Choneini Hashem, be gracious to me, Hashem, kitzarli, because it is, it's like tsar, it's a narrow place. Distress, an idea of distress. Oshisha bechas eini, my eyes are weakened with anger. Nafshi ubitni, also my soul and my stomach. Kichalu biyagain chayai. Because my life has been spent in yoga and in sorrow, ushnoisai, and my years ba'anacha, with sighing. Koshal ba'avaini koichi, my strength fails me based on my sins. Va'atzamai, and my bones, asheshu, are becoming brittle. They're wasting away. Mikol tzararai, from all of my the people who are making me tzaras, so from all of my adversaries, Hayisi Cherpa, I was a disgrace. Actually, we'll translate it better the next time we come around. But I was a disgrace. Vilishcheina, to my neighbors, me'oid, very much. Upachad limi yudoy, and those who know me, they were fearful, or I was dread to them. Royai bachutz, those who would see me outside, not too many, would run away from me. And ishkachti, I was forgotten. Kemes, for the dead. Milev, from the heart. Again, we'll translate that again when we get around to the next time. Hayisi, I was kichli oived, like a lost vessel, like a lost vessel. Kishamati, I would hear dibas rabim, the comments of many, mogoir misaviv, that they would surround me, saviv, they would surround me and terrorize me, bivastam yachad, when they would gather together alai upon me, lokachas nafshi, to take my soul, to kill me, zamamu, that was what they had in mind, that was their thoughts. But me, olecha batachti Hashem, I put my trust in Hashem, in you, Hashem. Amarti, I said, Elikai Ata, you are my God. B'yadcha I toisai, in your hand is itais. Itais is from the word ace, times. So in your hands is my time. Hatzileni, save me, miyad oivai, from the hand of my enemies, or miroifai, from those who are running after me. Ha'ira panecha al avdecha, shine your face on your servant. Hashieni, help me, bechazdecha, in your kindness. Hashem, alevoisha kikrasicha. God, I will not be ashamed when I call out to you. Yevoishu rishayim. Who's going to be ashamed? The wicked, the evil ones. They're going to be ashamed. Yidmu lishoil. They'll be silent to the grave. Teolamna sivsei shaker. Close their lips of falsehood. Hadayvres, that talk al tzaddik, on the righteous. Osok begava vavuz, that they talk with arrogance and contempt. Morav tuvcha, how much is the good that you have, asher tzofanta, that you have hidden, Lireyecha, for those who fear you, those who follow in Hashem's ways. Pa'alta, you have accomplished. Lachaisim, those who put their faith and trust in you. Neged b'nei adam, in front of others, in front of man. Tastirein b'seiser ponecha, hide these people that we're talking about in verse 20. So in verse 21 he says, hide these people b'seiser ponecha, in the countenance of your face. Meiluch seish, shelter them from the haughtiness of man. Titzbeneim, hide them where? Besukkah. So sukkah, we know it's a type of shelter. Meriv l'shainais, from the strife, from the fight, from the war, from the argument, l'shainais of tongues. Baruch Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, ki hifli. Hifli is from the word pella, that as Hashem has done wonders, and chazdoi, his kindness, li, for me, be'ir matzar, in a besieged city. V'ani umarti, and I have said, bechavzi, when I was in a panic, nigrazti, mineged einecha, that I've been cut off from in front of your eyes. Achen, though, really what happened, achen, in truth, what happened, shamata kol tachnuna, you really heard the voice of my crying out, of my pleas, bishavi elecha, when I cried out to you. And now David HaMelech turns to the people and he says, Evu es Hashem, love Hashem, kol chasidav, all the pious ones, emunim, the believers, noitzer Hashem, Hashem will pay back, will repay. Umishalem al yeser oisei gaiva, and he exacts payment from those who are exceedingly haughty. Chizku v'yametz levavchem, be strong. V'yametz, another version of strong, or fortify your hearts. Kol am yachalim laHashem, all those who put their faith or their trust in Hashem. That is the first run of this kapitel. So, as I mentioned in the email, and this is by form of introduction, but verse number 1. So Lam Natseach, for the conductor, Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm for David. So David, as I mentioned, composed this psalm, this chapter of Tehillim, while he was running away from Shaul HaMelech. Right? So Shaul, and it's gonna be a common theme throughout. Why was Shaul running after David? So he was running after David because David was a threat to him. It was a threat to his kingship. It was also a threat. It was a threat to the future of his kingship, not just now, but also his children, etc. So that's why. So after he was successfully ran away from Shaul, specifically in the story of the town called Keilah. He composed this chapter of Tehillim. That's the way the Radak explains it, and many other commentaries. The Meiri says that he's davening about troubles, his tzaras, that he has from his enemies in general, and in general those who are running after him. But the Mefarshim basically agree that this is really talking about the city of Keilah. Over there, he was in great danger. The city of Keilah was a walled city. It had a door. It had a key. If you're trapped inside, you're trapped inside. And it was a miraculous way that Hashem saved him, and therefore he composed this chapter. And the Sforno mentions that David says that when I was in the house of Shaul, he tried to kill me. But that when I was in the house of Shaul, he tried to kill me. But what did I do? I put my trust in, and I took shelter in Chasisi. I took shelter in Hashem, and therefore I will never be ashamed. And that's the way the Sforno explains, going into the second pasuk, that the putting that it's talking in past tense. What's the past tense of the verse? Talking about when Shaul tried to kill him. That's according to the Sforno. Okay, so pasuk number 2, this idea that I won't be ashamed. So the Metzudas mentions that it's referred that David HaMelech in his humility saying that even if I don't have merits, I put and I trust that in your righteousness, bitzidkascha, the end of verse 2, in your righteousness, you're going to take care of me. Not because of the good deeds necessarily that I have done, because maybe I don't have enough. So in David HaMelech's humility, he asks Hashem that in his righteousness he should take care of him. The Alshich says over here that B'cha Hashem Chasisi, I trust and I put my shelter, so to speak, in Hashem, is that he's referring to even without davening, because sometimes David HaMelech comes to a situation that doesn't have time to daven, doesn't have the focus to daven, so he relies on Hashem's righteousness, which is a form of tzedek, of tzedakah, that Hashem will take care of him, and not necessarily because of his merits. The Avitz mentions over here that someone who wants to be saved beyond nature, when someone wants to, there's a scenario where, according to nature, according to a regular way of things, it's a dangerous situation. The only way out is to put your full trust in Hashem, but not just in a simple way, in a very, very strong way. And that's what David HaMelech teaches us in general. It's a theme throughout Tehillim, but in this chapter specifically, about putting your trust tremendously in a very strong way in Hashem, that way. And even when you look at a scenario and you say, there's no way out of it, there's no way, even Hashem, so to speak, what's he going to do in this case? That's the time that you have to put your full trust and your full faith in Hashem in a very strong way. And that's the only way that you'll be able to get out of it. And then Hashem has to make the decision if he wants to help you out, so to speak, right? But Hashem is always listening. Lily, you have a question?
Why let me not be ashamed? Yeah, let me not be ashamed. Why is he saying let me not be ashamed?
Because we're going to get to this more later in the chapter, but it's more about the people that are running after him and the people that are saying, David HaMelech, or David at that time, Hashem is not really watching over you. Hashem doesn't care about you. Whether they're saying that because of a sin that you're not gonna live, or something like that. So if he's putting his trust in Hashem, he might be a little ashamed. He says, no, even though people are saying different things about me, I'm not ashamed. That's the concept. But the next time it's mentioned, it's brought out more in that kind of way. So we'll get to it. Pasuk number 3. So what's this idea of hate? Now he's asking Hashem to turn his ear towards him. What's the idea? So the simple pshat, and so this mentions, turn to me and listen to my prayer, right? I'm going to call out to you, so turn to me. And the Mitzvah continues, and he says that he refers to Hashem, and he asks Hashem to be a tzur. So tzur is a rock, right? A strong rock. And the fortified and Metzudas is fortified buildings, that Hashem should be a strong rock for him, or a fortified building, because this is a way of war that a warrior needs these kinds of things on when he's out for war. The Radak similarly says, that David HaMelech is saying, I put my trust in you, the way people put their trust in strong rocks, and the way people put their trust in fortresses, meaning not that it's literally a rock or literally a fortress, or that's what Hashem is doing for him, but that's the kind of trust, right? Someone's out in battle, where do they put their trust? Where they can hide. So that kind of trust he puts in Hashem. The Svarnu mentions that he's asking over here in continuation from the previous verse, that if in David in his humility is saying that if my prayers aren't worthy and they don't go all the way up and you don't hear them, I'm praying to you, but it doesn't pierce the skies. So please turn to me, Hate Eli, turn towards me. And Memlayis mentions that it's that Hate Eli, in a case where I don't have enough strength to scream out in prayer. So, and I'm not saying it so loud, turn towards me, that way you could hear. The Alshich has a very interesting theme in this chapter, and the Alshich, and he starts off with this verse, with this pasuk, and he says that what he's asking over here, what David HaMelech is asking, who's pursuing David HaMelech? It's Shaul HaMelech. Shaul is pursuing him. Chas v'shalom. God forbid that he kills Shaul. If he kills Shaul, the anointed one, the anointed by God, right? He's the king and anointed by Hashem. So God forbid that he would kill Shaul or any other Jew for that matter, right? It's one thing when he's in a war with the Philistines or with Goliath and he kills a Philistine that's starting up with the Jews. Okay, that's part of the war. But here, who's chasing him? It's Jewish people that are chasing him. So the Alshich says that he's asking Hashem that he should be saved. That he's saying that Hatzileni, save me. Why save me? Because save me and then Hoshieni. Hatzileni in halfway through the verse, and then at the end is Hoshieni. What's the two ideas over here? He's asking that he should be saved, and also that he shouldn't kill his pursuers. Chas v'shalom shouldn't kill Shaul, who was anointed by Hashem to be king over the Jewish people. Right? Help me that they shouldn't kill me, and that I shouldn't kill them. So Hatzileni, save me, that I shouldn't be killed, and Hoshieni, help me, that I shouldn't come to a scenario where I kill them. The Alshich has this theme going through the whole capital, and we'll bring it up a few more times, that this is the idea that he's asking specifically for help, that he shouldn't come to kill Shaul, and by extension, any of Shaul's men. Pasuk number 4. So it's interesting. So first of all, the Mitzvah mentions over here that it's referring to Hashem's name of mercy, right? That's for the sake of your name. Sake of your name. So Mitzvah mentions that he's talking about Hashem's name of Rachamim, mercy, and therefore he's asking, Tancheni usnaleni, put me on a straight path, put me on a path going in the right direction. The Radak mentions that the first part is in the past. Right? Kisali, you have been in the past a rock and a fortress for me. So in the future, Ulaman Shimcha, in honor of your name, Tanchenus Naleni, continue doing that for me, going ahead, going into the future. And the Alshich over here brings up again that actually he brings up very interestingly. In the previous verse, when we wanted to say rock, what did we use? We use the word sur, right? Sur, that hey Eli, you should be for me litzur, for a rock, strong rock. Litzur ma'is from the word ois, so strong rock. And over here, all of a sudden, use the word sela for a stone, right? It's a very different type of stone. What's the difference between a sela and a tzur ma'is? So a tzur ma'is is a very strong stone. A sela is a softer stone, a stone that could crumble. A softer rock. And the Alshich says that until now, until now, you've been a sela for me, you've been a rock for me, but you were a softer rock. And but who was I fighting? I was fighting the enemies of the Jews. I was fighting the Philistines. I was fighting the enemies of the Jews, and therefore I didn't need such a strong rock. Right now that I'm up against other Jews, I'm up against Shaul HaMelech. I need you to be of more strength. Why? In order to help me that I shouldn't kill Shaul. Help me that I won't kill them. So that's why in the previous verse he uses the word sur, ma'ois, a very strong rock, as opposed to here using the word sela, because against the Philistines it didn't need to be so strong. Pasuk 5, Pasuk Hey. So what's referring to this idea of a net trying to entrap him, right? So the Radak says that when people put out a net and they thought it was a done deal. So if I remember correctly, and either he was referring to Ke'ilah or the Zipim. There's two stories in the story of David HaMelech, one right after the other in Shmuel Aleph. And one is the story of Ke'ilah, where it was a fortified city. And then after he ran away from that city, he ran into the Midbar, he ran into the desert, and over there was a group called the Zipim. And the Zipim went and told him, oh, the Philistines are coming here, tried to get him to go somewhere, and then ultimately went and told Shaul HaMelech that this is where David is hiding out, thinking that the Philistines are coming there. So the Radak says that they thought it was a done deal because the people of Keilah also went and told Shaul that he's hiding out in Keilah, and they thought it was a done deal. They thought he was trapped. So this is what he's referring to, that they put Tamnuli, they hid from me. They set out a net, a trap, but Hashem has saved me from it. The Alshich continues on his path of talking about the fact that, of mentioning that it's about the fight between two Jews, so to speak, and therefore he's asking that it should be that he shouldn't kill anybody. He takes it a step further with this verse, with this pasuk, and he says that I don't want to take away free choice from them. Let them do whatever they want. They want to put out a net, fine, let them put out a net. Meaning he's asking Hashem, save me. Don't stop them from doing whatever they want to do. Just save me. It's an interesting twist on this pasuk because he's not asking, make sure they don't put out traps to stop me. No, they have freedom of choice. They can do whatever they want. They're going to do whatever they want. And that's not what he's asking for Hashem to stop. He's asking that once they tried to entrap me, they hid from me a net. But Taitzieni, save me from that. So also another approach, but following the Alshich's general approach for this capital. Pasuk number 6. I don't know if you're familiar with this pasuk. So this is it's a famous pasuk. It's a famous verse, and it's not. So let's go through on a simple level, and then let's talk about why it's a little bit famous. So first of all, Rashi says that since you redeem me from Atzara, right? So therefore, I put my ruchi, my spirit in your hands, because you take me out of the tzara. What's the kel emes? You're the God of truth. So the Radak says that he's referring to the truth that David HaMelech always hung on to, that truth that Hashem promised him, the kingship, and that's what he held on to. So that I put my spirit in you because you're Kelemes, you said something, and it's definitely going to happen. And you're the God of truth. The Alshich goes more in a mystical way, which we're going to talk about that over here. Is that I put my neshama by you, biyadcha, in your hands. Afkid, I put I that's a good word for afkid. Deposit. I leave my neshama by you. What?
In trust?
In trust. Yeah. In trust. Yeah. So I put my neshama by you. So why? I want you to help me that I shouldn't kill anybody. And through that, I will also get redemption for my body. So he's asking, working from a spiritual, biyad chafki druchi, I put my spirit by you, my neshama, I entrust my neshama by you. So that way it will also affect my body, that I shouldn't chas v'shalom kill anybody. So that's also the way the Alshich learns it. The Mamleis brings it up, and this is why it's a little bit famous, that it's really connected with the idea of a deposit. Yeah, it's a deposit. A security deposit. Yeah. So the Mamleis brings it up, and actually, if I remember correctly, it's even in the Gemara that there's an obligation to say Shema, right? In the Shema, we know that there's an obligation to say Shema when we go to sleep and when we wake up in the morning. Right? That's twice. We put it into davening so that way it's easier for us to do it. But it has nothing really to do necessarily with davening. It could be a standalone. If you're gonna daven Shachar a little later, you have to say Shema a little earlier, because Shema has to be done a little bit earlier in the morning. And in the evening, besides in Ma'ariv, we also have Kriya Shema Shalamita. You're supposed to say Shema before you go to bed. Now, what if someone sits and studies Torah all day? That's his whole idea. So he's patur mikriya Shema. He's not obligated with saying the Shema. He's not obligated with mitzvahs in general. So the concept of Torah Nasai, that all he does all day, every day is sit and study Torah. I don't think that such a scenario would apply at all today. I don't know of anybody that would be able to sit and study literally the whole day, every day, all day. But anyways, that's a different conversation. It definitely was a common, I shouldn't say common, but it definitely happened in times of the Gemara and etc. So now this person, the Gemara says that he should still say something. before he goes to bed. He's not going to say the whole Shema. The whole Shema takes a long time, and that's going to take away from his learning. I mean, how long is it going to take? 30 seconds, but still, that's the concept of it, right? So therefore, the sages said that he should say this verse. Before you go to sleep, he says, I'm putting my neshama by you. And it's very similar also on the other end, the way we say Maidani in the morning, right? When we go to sleep, we should say, I give to you my soul as a deposit, so to speak, and I'm you're God of truth. So I know I'm going to get back the deposit tomorrow morning when I wake up, so to speak. And then what am I going to say? Thank you, Hashem, for giving me my neshama back. Maidani lefanecha, right? Shechazarta binishmasi. And that's where this pasuk is a little bit famous from, because people say it together with the Shema in the evening. The Gemara also, actually, no, it might be a medrash, I don't remember now, but it's a medrash that talks about this idea that, and brings up this verse and says you're giving your soul as a deposit to Hashem every time you go to sleep. So he says, when you give a deposit to somebody else, or you lend, someone borrows from you a jacket, right? So they're going to use that jacket, when you get it back, it's a little bit more used than when you got it, right? It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more rubbed out, so to speak. But it continues the medrash and says, not so is Hashem when he takes on loan, so to speak. He takes your neshama for the night. He gives it back to you, not worn more. On the contrary, even better than when he got it. And that's the uniqueness of the idea of giving a security deposit, so to speak, to Hashem versus the idea of giving a security deposit to somebody else.
Excuse me, Babel, how do you say that you're loaning your neshama to Hashem when the neshama came from Hashem and is on loan to you?
Right. So it's not loaning. It's like the good word is like to entrust, meaning according to Jewish thought, is that when we go to sleep, it's a 60th of death, right? It's a famous Gemara. It's 1/60th of death, means that part of your neshama goes back for the night. Your whole neshama is not there with you. A part of your neshama goes back. And when you wake up rejuvenated and well rested, etc., on a mystical level, it's because your neshama went and recharged a little bit and now came back rejuvenated. So it's not on loan to Hashem, it's entrusting it to Hashem for the night, right? What's the concept? What's the idea? And we have this even stronger in the Maida Ani that we say in the morning, because Hashem didn't have to give it back, right? Based on the way I acted today, maybe I don't deserve to have the neshama back tomorrow morning, right? If I lived my life to my full potential today, so then, of course, Hashem wants me to continue tomorrow. But Hashem, as we say in Maidani, Rabba emunosecha, great is your trust, your belief in me that tomorrow is going to be better. That's Maidani. That's what we say every morning, right? And so that we're entrusting our neshama back to Hashem because we know Hashem Kilamas, God of truth, and He's going to give it back to us tomorrow morning. That's the idea. So not on loan, more entrusting for while I sleep, and I'll get back my neshama and I'll wake up tomorrow morning. Okay. Pasuk Zion. Pasuk 7. So so he continues and he says, Sonesi, I abhor, I despise these Shaimrim Havlei Shav. So I already started explaining this before. So this is referring to those who look for salvation in shav, in the wrong places. As Rashi, it translates people that look for salvation in idol worship, in avodah zarah. That's the way Rashi explains it. And they anticipate to get an answer from these kinds of things. So David HaMelech mentions this, I despise the people. So again, Shomer usually means watching. There is a few commentaries say that it's watching, but it's what's that pasuk by Yosef? Vaviv Shamar es hadavar, that Yaakov didn't, Yosef used to unrate his brothers. He'd tell them, I had a dream this way, I had a dream that way. And it says, Vaviv, and his father, Shamar es hadavar, he anticipated that something was going to happen. So that's the same shamar, shimrim that's mentioned over here, the anticipation of something.
That a guard anticipates anything that's going to come onto what he's guarding.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
Okay. But so this is Shemrim Havlishav, and so he despises those who go for salvation in worthless entities. But I put my trust in Hashem, and as Radak mentions over here, that when David HaMelech David at the time was running away from Shaul HaMelech, so he put his trust in Hashem, and he didn't run to some of the soothsayers and some of the witchcraft, etc., which interestingly, just to balance it out, in this commentary, that Shaul did do at one point when he wanted to know what Shmuel, he summoned Shmuel, right? And this is something that David HaMelech mentions over here, that he despises that approach, and obviously it's not the Jewish approach, and he put his trust only in Hashem. Pasuk 8, Pasuk Ches, so Agila, and first of all, I rejoice, I'm happy with the chesed that you give, and you've seen me in my worst. So the Mitzvah mentions that you've seen, meaning thank you for paying special attention to me, that you've seen and you've taken care of me when I needed your help to take care of me. The Radak mentions that after you save me, I won't be afraid. Some people say, oh, I got saved, so I'm going to go and hide out because I don't know what's going to come next. No, I'll be joyous. I'll be dancing. I will be most joyful. The Me'ablayis mentions that Agila ve'esmecha b'chazdecha, that when Hashem helps me, I am going to rejoice b'chazdecha in your kindness. Because someone could come along and say that it was because I was so smart. I outsmarted Shaul HaMelech. I outsmarted the King Saul, and that's why I was able to overcome this. And that's what he's mentioning over here in Pasuk verse 8, that I'm joyful in your kindness, meaning I recognize that it comes from you. You saw me at my worst. Isa es ani and yodata b'tzaras nafshi. You saw my troubles, and you helped me, and therefore I'm going to rejoice because I recognize that everything comes from you, Hashem. Also mentioned in Mamlei is that David, in his humility, says that he didn't have so much shtaira or good deeds to go in his stead. Nonetheless, Hashem saved him, and therefore he is tremendously joyful. Pasuk Tes, so you didn't trap me. So who's this enemy? Biyad Oyev, you didn't trap me by the enemy. Who's the enemy? So Radak mentions that it is Shaul, and talking about the story of the Zippim, that they tried to trap him and hand him over to Shaul. And then, so first of all, he didn't trap me, and then he continues the prayer in Pasuk 10, continue asking Hashem. The Al-Shech mentions that the trap over here, that you didn't entrap me with the enemy. Who's the enemy according to the Al-Shech? The Yetzer Hara. You didn't trap me with the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara might push me to kill. The Shaul is running after me. I have every right to kill, etc., to save my own life. But you didn't trap me with the Yetzer Hara. Not only that, as the pasuk continues, you stood up my feet in the width, in a wide place, meaning a place that I have enough place to move around. It's not tight, meaning I'm able to get away from the Yetzer Hara. So that's the way the Al-Shech learns this, again with his theme that this whole kapitel is asking Hashem to help him, that when push comes to shove and there's a fight between him and Shaul, that he shouldn't chas v'shalom kill Shaul.
Is it possible that it can be translated into he puts my feet standing broadly, so that if you want to be solid, your feet can't be together. They have to be separated. And
right.
So it says that you're making me stand with my legs apart, solid, attached to the ground. Does the Hebrew do that?
I could see that. And it won't be the simple translation. It won't be the basic translation. But I could see that fortifying me stomps 2 feet
Yeah.
firmly on the ground. Yeah, I could see that as well. Yeah. Okay. Next pasuk Yud. So first of all, this idea, the simple pshat of this pasuk, I'm gonna go. So first of all, Chaneni Hashem, help me Hashem, kitzarli, because it's narrow. Osha b'chas eini, my eyes become because of my anger and because of everything that's going on. So my eyes become sick, and nafshi vitni, my soul and my stomach. So the simple way to learn this pasuk is that the worry and the anxiety of everything that's going on, I'm running away from King Saul. There's so much going on. So that worry and anxiety is causing my eyes, my stomach, my innards, my soul, everything. I'm getting sick from all this anxiety. That's the simple way. That's the straightforward way to learn this pasuk. There's a little deeper that I'd like to learn this pasuk is that David was upset that he got to the level of anger. That the whole upset, this whole thing was Chaneni Hashem, because I got upset that I got to cast, that I even got to anger, that I got to anger, meaning that he had anger against his enemies, and that the anger ultimately it caused him to have certain symptoms like that. So that's a little bit more deep, a little bit on a deeper level, that David HaMelech is upset, so to speak, on his turning to anger. Pasuk Yud Aleph. So all my life, my years, and they've been ausgeschleppt, the yaga and sorrow, anacha with krechzing, with sighing. So that's the theme of this verse. David feels bad about the waste that he has in his life, because he's constantly running away from Shalom Melech, and he would rather be sitting and studying Torah. This is something that has been brought up before in Tehillim, that David would much rather, instead of being a warrior, he'd much rather be involved in the study of Torah.
Did he have any good years? Did he have any good, joyful years?
First of all, it's a good question, and obviously yes, because he mentions in Pasuk 8, Agila Vesmecha, always joyful. David HaMelech saw things always in a good light, so I'm sure he did. And did he have any years that he was able to sit down and study Torah? So that at the end of his life, when his generals, etc., didn't let him come out, it's a famous part in his life that they stopped him from going out to war, and that Taka was able to sit and study Torah all day, and he talks about that. It's mentioned in Tehillim and in other places that was his geschmack. That's what he enjoyed. I'm not sure how many years that was, and it's not so clear according to the commentaries if Taka listened to them, if he then go out to war or not. There's another conversation for another time, but yeah, there definitely was. The Radak over here mentions on Pasuk Yud Aleph that all my troubles, that he's saying, that David HaMelech is saying that all my troubles started when I killed that Plishti, right? The famous story when he killed Goliath, when he killed Goliath, and and there were a bunch of women there, and they praised him, etc. And that's what got Shaul HaMelech very jealous, King Saul very jealous, and that's where all his troubles have started from, and that's what he's referring to here, according to Radak. Okay, Pasuk 12 is also a little bit to be able to understand Pasuk 12. So let's understand it first according to the Radak. The Radak says that from the bad that my enemies do, I become disgraced. From all the things that they do and they say bad things against me, I become disgraced, and I have to run away from them. And where am I running? I'm running. Where am I running from? I'm running away from other Jews, meaning my neighbors. That's lishchenai. I'm running away from my neighbors. It's the Jews that the Shaul HaMelech and his men that are chasing after me. And then at the end, my family, my loved ones are afraid that Shaul will kill me. Upachad limiyudai. Those who know me and my family, and they're afraid that I will be killed by Shaul. And anybody who sees me, sees my scenario, sees what I'm going through, they tremble on my behalf. And that's the way the Radak translates this whole pasuk. At the beginning, is talking about those who laugh at him and disgrace him. To the extent I saw in one of the commentaries that calling someone at that time, those who followed Shaul, not one of Anshe David, not one of the men of David, but someone who followed Shaul and called someone else David, it was like a bad name. It was like an insult, you call it, right? And that's what he's referring to. Hayisi Cherpa, I was like looked as a disgrace. They used my name, so to speak, as a disgrace. The Yavetz mentions over here that when enemies run after somebody, usually, let's say someone's running after someone, your neighbors, your friends, they stand up for you. Even if they can't stand up for you in person, at least they're going to give you some words of encouragement. They're going to say, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Hashem is going to be there for you, etc. They're going to say, some words of encouragement or something, be there for them. But David is complaining here in the pasuk that he has no encouragement from the inside, from the outside. Mibayis and Mechutz, as mentioned in the Yavetz, that from all sides he is getting bombarded in a negative way, and that's Mikol Tzayda Yisi Cherpa, and otherwise, and even Yudai, even those who know me, they're just fearful to even come out. Pasuk 13. So the Rashi, so this Radak translate pasuk 13 that my family and friends, because we finished off the previous pasuk about family and friends, how they're afraid, right? So over here they say that my family and friends are so afraid that I'm going to die, that Shalom Melech will kill me. They have given up already. Nishkachti, I've been forgotten, kemeis, as if I'm dead already. They think that I'm not going to survive Shaul. I've been forgotten from their hearts, as if I'm dead. And then Hayisi Kichli Ayved, I'm like a lost vessel, that they don't even, when you lose something, and it's you don't think you give up on it, right? Sometimes you lose something and you're going to look for it and you're going to try to find it, and you think at one point you're going to find it. But David Amal says, to my family and friends, I'm like a lost soul that they don't even think they're ever going to find me again. Nishkachti, forgot about me. I'm like a lost vessel that they're never going to find again. So I've heard others talk about this, right? Shomati Dibas Rabim. So the Alshich says that he's saying over here that I'm not magar misav. They come around me and they terrorize me, etc. Says I'm not afraid that if they come to kill me. I'm a little afraid that really they talk, that Dibas Rabim, the negativity they talk about me, and the lies also that they say about me. But what scares him the most is that they're trying to make me sin by killing other people, by killing Shaul. And that's what scares him, and that's the way the Alshich translates Pasuk 14. And the Yavetz mentions that this is referring to Doeg and Achitophel, famously, who would tell David, tell Shaul HaMelech that David is already announcing himself as king, etc., really telling him lies in order to get Shaul to run after him. But what did David HaMelech say? He's not afraid of them. And in Pasuk 15, Pasuk Tezvav, he puts his trust only in Hashem. And the Alshich, in his way of learning this Pasuk, is that he puts his trust in Hashem so that Hashem won't let him go into the hand of his Yetzer Hara and Chas v'Shalom kill Shaul. Pasuk 16, so b'yadchei taisei, in your hands is time. Ace, right? There's a time for this and a time for that. Ace means time. So biyadcha, in your hand, itaisoi is my time. So what does it mean that in your hand is my time? The times that I go through, whether they're good or bad, so Rashi and Mitzudas mentions. So the times that I go through, I go through some good times, I go through some bad times, are all based on what Hashem wants. Then biyadcha, it's in your hand. My time. It's not my time. So Hashem decides what happens in that time. And the Radak mentions the times that they think that they could trap me, they think that they're in control, but it's really in Hashem's hands. Biyadcha, in your hands, the times are in your hands. The Alshich mentions something that we've talked about before. David HaMelech really wasn't supposed to be born. He was supposed to be stillborn, right? And therefore he got years from others, and he got 70 years, and that's why he was born. So the Alshich says that biyodcha, in your hands is my time. I wasn't even supposed to be alive. I wasn't even supposed to be born. I was supposed to be an Eifel, stillborn. So now that I am born, now that I was born, Hatzileni, save me, that I shouldn't make a mistake, that I shouldn't sin. And that's the pasuk 16. Pasuk 17. So Ha'idu panecha, show me a nice face, show me your countenance, right? And your chesed and your kindness. So this is something that he's asked already earlier in this chapter. But Ha'idu panecha, the Mitzvah mentions, show me a friendly face. Show me a face like when one friend sees another friend. That's he was looking for a friendly face. Pasuk Yud Ches. So here, Lily, we bring up again the Ali Vaisha, the fact that he won't be embarrassed. So Hashem, I'll never be embarrassed to call out to you. There's as we mentioned already in this chapter, that there's many people running after David, and things are not at this point. Yes, he's miraculously saved, but things are not necessarily going so well for David. But still, he will not be embarrassed. I'll never be embarrassed. I call out to you. You know, when you need help with something. So you know, like if I need help with something, my first call usually is my parents, right? I need an idea. I need something. I can call your parents. You can either be proud that you call your parents, or you can be embarrassed you call your parents. Or you have a good friend that helps you out with a certain thing, and you call upon them every once in a while. You could be proud of that, or you could be shy about it, right? It's not depending on who it is, depending on how it is, and depending on the way you feel about it. You could either be proud or you could be shy about it. But that's what David HaMelech is saying, that when he calls out to Hashem, he is proud. It's not something that he'll ever be shy about. The Alshich says that the sages say, there's a comment from our sages like this, that if you, let's say you get into arguments with a friend and you call it Hashem to punish somebody else. So it says that maybe Hashem will take a mete out punishment for the other person if the other person did something wrong, etc. Hashem doesn't like when we say, oh, so-and-so did something bad. Hashem doesn't like that. And therefore, you can't get close to Hashem. I just say that if you try to bring Hashem into your argument with somebody else, it won't go well for you either. It might not go well for that person, but it won't go well for you either. It's not a healthy thing. It's not a good thing to do. So over here, the way the Alshich translates this pasuk, he says, Hashem, I'll never be embarrassed to call out to you. But what am I calling out? That the Rishayim should be embarrassed about their ways and do tshuva. Don't punish them. Don't do anything bad to them. Let them do tshuva. Yevaishu Rishayim. That the Rishayim should be embarrassed of their ways. And when you're embarrassed of your ways, you'll do tshuva. So that's also a very beautiful way to learn this pasuk. That I'm not embarrassed by calling out Hashem. They should be embarrassed of their negative and their wrong ways.
Let them be silenced in the grave. So he's wishing them dead, or what?
Meaning it's a form of tshuva, to be quiet, that they shouldn't continue with all their negativity, and they should be quiet. It's a form of tshuva. Yeah. Pasuk Yutes, verse 19. So Tehillim Nasif Shakar, the lips that say falsehoods, right? So we mentioned before, Daigen Achiteifel and others that would say falsehoods about David HaMelech. So different commentaries translate this verse differently. I mean, very similar, but whether the tzaddik over here is referring to himself or in general to tzaddikim. So Rashi says that here David is complaining that they're talking negatively to Shaul about David, saying untruths, saying lies, and not only about David, but also Rashi mentions that it's also about other righteous people, other tzaddikim. The Avitz mentions that the sheker, the lies that they're talking about, is that it is not what they're saying to Shaul per se, but that they're saying that I'm being pursued because of my sins. And he ends off and he says, a righteous person doesn't look for reward or pleasures here in this world, because they know that the ultimate pleasures, the even greater pleasures, are in the world to come. So therefore, they don't care so much about the the trials and the tough times that they go through here in this world. So that's the way David HaMelech looked at his hard times. That's okay. I'm saying in Olam Haba, that's where I'm going to get a better, I'm going to get the better reward. I'm getting my tough time here, so I'll have less time to go through Gehenna, less time to go through the Jewish version of hell, right? And that's the way a tzaddik, that's the way a righteous person looks at it. And the ones that were running around, the Sifsei Shaker, the ones who were running around and saying lies, what lies? They were saying that the reason he's being pursued is because of the sins that he did, and that's what David HaMelech is referring to, that Hashem should quiet down their lies. The Alshich says that he's saying that when the Rishayim will die, that's when the lies will stop. It's referring to comments about Hashem, and not necessarily about comments about David HaMelech, talking about Hashem, Tzadikoi Shaloilam, the righteous of the world, right? Everything comes from Hashem. And he ends off saying that when they run after me, when they're chasing me, it's a chil Hashem, because it's a desecration of Hashem's name. Doesn't it mean that it's a desecration of Hashem's name? Because Hashem promised that I'll be king. So when they run after me, it's a desecration of Hashem's name. And when Hashem saves him, what happens? It's a kiddush Hashem. It's a sanctification of Hashem's name. And that's the way the Alshich learns this pasuk Chaf. In continuation with the theme of what's going to be in the world to come, Marav Tuvcha, how much of the goodness, there's so much goodness, there's plentiful goodness, abundant goodness, Asher Tzafanta, that you have hidden away. So what's this hidden away? Is obviously talking about the world to come. And the Radak mentions that the Rishayim don't see the goodness that you hidden away for the righteous people, for the good people in this world. Where did you hide it away? Obviously in the world to come. And when you've done good for them in this world, that's all that people see, right? And that's l'chaisim bach neged b'nei adam. That's what people see in front of other people. That's all people see. Yeah, so that's the way the Radak learns it, that the Rishayim in this world, they don't see all the goodness that you're accumulating and you're putting away in the world to come for the righteous people. Pasuk 21. So first of all, the Sfarnu mentions on Pasuk 20, says that those who put their trust in you, l'chaisim bach, those who put their trust in you. So he continues in verse 21 in a prayer form. Tastirem, conceal them, hide them from Shaul, that his people and his people that are running after me and my people, hide Tastirem, hide these people from Shaul HaMelech. And Rashi mentions that these are a group of evildoers, Ruchsei Ish, group of Rishayim that have band together. And then he says, hide them in a sukkah. A sukkah is not a very strong hideout, right? But if it's Hashem hiding you in a sukkah, in a shelter of a sukkah, so then you know you're going to be safe. And where are you hiding them from? Mediv l'shaynes. This is the argument of tongues, the fight of tongues. And Mitzvah mentions that and it's brought down in other places as well, that ultimately the only reason Shaul HaMelech really was running after David is because of lies that people were feeding him, because of things that people told him it was really a war of tongues. If people would have told him the truth, that David HaMelech is not looking to overthrow him, etc., and he's not announcing himself as king, it wouldn't have been this running after David, and that's me.
Didn't he know him? Didn't the king know him? Didn't he know David? Wasn't he his son-in-law? Didn't he know him well?
He was a friend of his son.
Why? Yeah. Why wouldn't he believe his son? Why wouldn't he know his character was good and everyone was lying?
Yeah, that's a whole nother class. We could open up Shmuel Aleph, and learn it on the inside. But there's a whole storyline for that. It's not so simple. He had some advisors that he listened to, like Daig and Achitophel and some others, that fed him these lies in order to get him to run after David. They didn't like David, and they wanted him to run after David. But that's the whole story of King David and Shaul. It's a whole book in Nach. It's a whole book in Nach that at one point I have a dream that I want to do a class going through Nach, starting with Yeshua, going through the history from Yeshua. One day we'll get to it. I don't know exactly when, but it's short-term dream of mine. I'll get to it at some point. When this becomes so easy to prepare, I'll have more time. So that's the Alshich mentions on verse Chaf Aleph, from verse 21, that how are you going to save them from people that have free choice? You hide them, right? As you mentioned in when he talked about the nets, he says, don't take away your free choice. Let them put down the nets, but then save me. So over here, he's saying that there's people that have free choice. They want to run after the righteous. They want to run after me, but save them. How are you going to save them? Put them into, hide them from those who are running after them, which is something that Hashem has done for David HaMelech on multiple occasions. Pasuk Chav Beis. So blessed are you, Hashem, Baruch Hashem, that you made a pellet, a miracle, and a kindness when I was in a city, in Matzar, when I was in a besieged city. So Rashi, the simple, obviously, is talking about Ke'ilah, the city that was surrounded with a wall, and Shaul HaMelech was sure that he would be able to trap him inside because there was a wall and a door, and there was no way to get out. And miraculously, he was able to get out before Shaul showed up. The Yavet says over here that David asked to be saved. He asked Bitsur Oiz, Ma'oiz, right, with a rock of strength, and then Mitzudes in a fortress. But Hashem saved them in a fortified city, right? So when you're standing, if you're in a war, if you're in a battle, and you stand behind a rock, a big rock that's going to shield you from all the oncoming bullets or arrows or whatever, spears, anything that's being thrown against you, rocks that are thrown against you. So you're in a good position that nothing will hit you because there's a rock behind you, there's a wall behind you that's blocking anything, right? Or that's one way you could be saved. But you have to stand behind that rock, otherwise, chas v'shalom. There's another way that you can run up into a tower, a mitzuda, which is a fortress that David HaMelech asks that Hashem should save him in the form of a fortress, meaning that you run up to the tower and then you're saved from all sides, not just from one side because the rock is saving you from behind. You're saved from all sides because you're on top and you're saved. So the Avid says that that's what David HaMelech asked Hashem: save me in those formats, in the format of being a strong rock to shield me, or being a fortress for me that I could be. But ultimately, I'm stuck in one place. I'm stuck in the fortress, or I'm stuck behind the rock. Hashem saved them, though, continues David, based on this pasuk and pasuk of Beis. He saved them be'ir matzar. He saved them in a city. He saved them in a city that is a walled city that nobody can get in. So he saved in a way that he's not stuck in the top of a fortress. He's not stuck behind the rock. Saved in a place where he could walk around, where he's not claustrophobic. That's not what the Avid says, but that's the way I translate his translation. His explanation is that he gave him a place that he didn't feel claustrophobic. Pasuk Chav Gimel. So I have said bechavzi in a panic. So Rashi says that it's talking about when he left Ke'ilah. Others say that it's when he was, after he left Ke'ilah, he ended up by the Zipim in the desert. It's a story right after that in Nach. And both times he got very worried. He got very nervous. And bechavzi in a panic, he says he thought that Shaul would catch up with him, and I thought Hashem that you have forsaken me, right? That your eyes have gone away from me. So that's the way it's translated that from home. But he continues, says, but Ochen, in truth, Shamata, you did hear my cries. So in a moment of panic, I thought that you have forsaken me, but you have heard my cries. And depending on whether it's the story of Ke'ilah or the story of the Zipim. Pasuk 24. Evu as Hashem kochasev. All the pious ones, you should love Hashem. So the Alshich says like this: Evu, love Hashem, Chasidav, his pious ones, but not because of the goodness, because he's giving you something. Don't love Hashem because of something that you're going to get in return. Love him because you have faith in, and munim, because you have faith in Hashem. That's the idea. And know that Hashem goes beyond the letter of the law when he takes care of the pious ones who follow in his ways. And at the end, where he says Mishalem al yeser oisei gaiva. So yeser means an exacting. So Hashem takes an exact payment for those who are haughty. That's the Sfarnu says that it's referring to Shaul. The Avid says over here that even if Hashem doesn't answer, and sometimes you see that evil prospers, etc. But think, if you see Hashem doing this for people who make him angry, could you imagine how much more he has in store for you? For someone who does what Hashem wants. If this is what happens when someone is not doing the right thing, could you imagine how much he has in store for you? And that's the way the Yavetz learns this pasuk. Pasuk 25, he ends off. It's very similar to the way a few chapters ago we said Kaveh Hashem Chazak v'yamitz libecha, right? So this also Chizku v'yamitz levavchem, be strong and strengthen your hearts. Kol Yachlim Hashem, put your hope in Hashem. Anybody that puts your hope in Hashem, just be strong, because even if in a moment it doesn't look so great, don't worry. Hashem will take care of it. And Rashi mentions that look how Hashem has helped me. David HaMelech is telling everybody, be strong and strengthen your heart, because look how Hashem has helped me. He'll surely help you. Don't worry, there's hope. And the Sfarnu takes this on a similar level, that even if something bad happens, don't worry, Hashem is around the corner, so to speak, or right there, and he will help. The Alshich ends off and says, those who turn towards Hashem, anybody comes to purify Hashem, so he says, be strong and strengthen your heart. Anybody who turns towards Hashem, anybody who puts their hope in Hashem, because anybody who puts a step forward and tries to become better, they get an additional inspiration, they get another push, they get some help from above. And that's what he's saying, according to the Alshich, that everybody you might think, it might look bleak. Take one step in the right direction, and Hashem will be there and help you go forward. With that, we finish chapter 31. What?
Can I ask you how long he was running and how long he was being pursued?
Well, he was running for as long as he was until he became king. He was running, and even afterwards, he was a warrior. He fought wars all the time, so he was running for a long time.
I'm wondering. No, Shaul and everybody against him. How long was he running away from him?
I don't remember how old he was when all that was over. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
And his family. Where was Bathsheba and his family?
Bathsheba comes into the picture much later.
Oh, so he had no family.
After Shaul is out of the picture and David becomes king, Bathsheba only comes into the picture later.
So he had no family protecting him, helping him?
That's what we said in the pasuk over there. This family, they looked at him. They felt like he died. They felt like he was a lost case and he won't survive. No, he didn't have. There were Anshe David. There were people that believed in David and would help him. In this story of Ke'ilah and the Zipim, it says in the pasuk there that there were 600 people with him, meaning he had a small army with him. He had people that were with him, but those are the pious ones that he's referring to in this chapter, at the end of the chapter, telling them that Hashem will help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really quite amazing again. I don't know how much time it takes you to put it together, but it's well worth it from our side.
I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I don't know who enjoys it more, I have to tell you, because I really enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know, it depends on the week. This week is a longer chapter, so it took a little bit longer, but and also Hannah gets a lot of credit. She helps me with the notes.
Well, it would be nice if you put a mic on her so that when she has her comments, we could hear her.
You know how many years we've been asking for that? Not going to happen. She's too modest. Because she could give all these classes.
Yeah, you know, when this is one of the things that we miss tremendously. Shabbos by the Kiddush, she would usually get up and say Advar Torah.
That's right.
And that's it's one of the things we miss tremendously. Yeah.
Soon.
Well, she still could do it for you guys. You know that, right?
She could, and you can ask. I'll let her tell you no. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Thank you very much.
See you on
Bye.
Wednesday.
Beautiful class.
Yes, looking forward to Wednesday. Wednesday's actually, so Shabbos afternoon, I prepare it. Wednesday's going to be a good class. Oh, Cindy left already. Yeah, Ysher Koyach. We'll see you tomorrow.